Kia ora, welcome to the Guerin Report on your Monday night. Let's get straight into it. The New Zealand first interview with the boss of Entain Australia and New Zealand. Here is Andrew Vouris. Well, Andrew, welcome to the Guerin Report. By now, lots of people will know the name Andrew Vouris, who's the Chief Executive of Entain, but they may not know your background. So give us the CV on AV.
Yeah, look, always loved racing. My first job as a teenager was following a tractor around Randwick Racecourse with a big mound of soil, filling in divots on the course proper. From a wagering perspective, I established an online bookmaker in the Northern Territory and then went on to lead the domestic wagering and media business of what was the largest wagering business in Australia. Pioneered a global esports operation that was operating in 40 countries. And now leading Entain Australia and New Zealand, partnering with TAB New Zealand, looking to grow wagering and racing in New Zealand.
Okay, just for people watching at home, that's an impressive CV, by the way. Are you any good at this? So just to have any comfort, can New Zealanders feel comfortable you know what you're doing?
Yeah, look, I've done this for a long time. I've seen a lot of things. You never see everything, but I think they're in safe hands.
Okay, talk to me about this, the lexicon of gambling, sports, gaming, all the things that are going on in this world at the moment. Where does racing sit for you? Because are you a racing man who loves the industry of gaming and gambling, or are you a guy who leans more into that and racing's a product of that?
Great question. So racing is a passion, a hobby, a business, and family to me. So, as I said, my first job was on a racetrack. My father is a prominent racehorse owner. I've owned a number of horses with him. And my uncle was the CFO of the ATC for 20 plus years. And my cousin is Michael Costa, who's the leading trainer in Dubai, training for the royal family. My first memories, but as a business, my first memory, is sitting in a tab with my dad. He's backing winners, I'm drawing Ninja Turtles on the back of the tab stamp. So, it's everything, all of the above.
Same memories, but no turtles.
Yeah, that's right.
You've been in the top job now at Entain Australia / New Zealand for a few months. How do you feel the business, and particularly for people watching this in New Zealand, is tracking?
Yeah, I think the business is very, very strong, and it's getting stronger. So, our relationship with TAB New Zealand is very strong. We're working on all the key issues. From a business perspective, October was a fantastic month for us. We saw 29% growth year on year in October. For a business of this size to get that sort of growth, that's pretty exceptional. We've seen 25% customer acquisition growth, and our brand Betcha, which is now facing more into sport than what it did before to capture that grey market, is now 20% of our online business. So, on most of our key metrics, I think we're winning really, really well.
When Entain first became part of our lives here in New Zealand, your predecessor, Dean Shannon, said there were levers that they could pull as a business to drive turnover. So we're seeing great success with Betcha, obviously, increased media coverage, and there's more customers. But what levers are left? Because some of those, whether they seemed obvious or not, they've now been done. So what levers do you still have at your disposal to increase turnover?
Yeah, look, we're getting back to selling bets. So I think, there might have been, there certainly was some non-core business things that we were doing. So we hadn't really, I would say, leveraged all the levers that were at our disposal. So getting back to selling bets means that we're investing a lot more capital into innovating technology, into innovating for products for customers, making sure that we're ensuring that customers are cross-selling across all of our products, especially as we get more sports customers coming through from the grey market, making sure that they come through into our racing product. That's the stuff that's still ahead of us.
So just to explain it to people at home, because they wouldn't understand some of that terminology. So say young fella joins up, or young lass wants to have a bet on Betcha, that's all good. They like sport, so they're betting on EPL. You hope to migrate them to come into racing product on some occasions. Is that one of the levers you're talking about?
100%, but it's not just hoping to, we are, right? So we've acquired, 20,000 more customers than we thought we'd do post-LegNet.
Yeah.
47% of those customers that started in sport, right, that were lost to TAB New Zealand, have now bet on racing product. On Melbourne Cup Day, 7,000 customers who had never placed a bet on racing before have now placed a bet on racing, and I'd expect that number to grow as we go through New Zealand Cup week. And I think that's the power of what we're doing with the industry.
Raises a really interesting question. People, a lot of particularly younger people, but people in general, spend a lot of time on their phones these days. And it's a lot easier to deal with people if you're dealing with them via an account. Where does that leave retail for New Zealand? Because I realise it's a shrinking industry, but is it still part of Entain's future plans? And as we are seeing in some of the retail in Australia, are there levers to be pulled inside that mechanism?
100%. So retail is still very important to us. Let me make that clear.
So it's going to be sticking around?
100%. Like, I can't see a world where retail doesn't exist. I think the more proper thing to say is I don't think retail grows, right? I don't think we're going to be opening up new shops. But when I look at retail, retail's been in structural decline for 10 years. It's now in growth, right? It's the first year it's in growth after 10 years structural decline. Why? Because I think New Zealanders have arguably the best retail experience in terms of merging digital and retail together. The EBTs that are there...
The new pods, basically.
Yeah,
people call them pods.
All right, we call them EBTs, right? Yeah, electronic betting terminals. They are the best in the world, right? And they're here in New Zealand, and that's the investment that we made up front in the partnership, and we're seeing the dividends of that. What we will do is continue to merge digital and retail together, and in the new year there'll be new products that actually do that a lot better than what we're doing today.
Will there be instances where if someone goes to the pub tab or on track, they might have accessibility to offers that people don't get online to try and drive people to those areas?
Yeah, we do that today.
Okay.
So we have got special promotions in retail on the terminals where it's a special inflated price promotion on certain runners. That's available in retail today.
Andrew, people in racing, and many people who watch this show are racing people, that's their livelihoods depend on it. There's a fear among some of them that sports betting will take over from racing and therefore it will actually cannibalise racing. Are you suggesting that the more sports punters we have, the more we'll see cross-fertilisation between the two?
I'm suggesting it's twofold, right? Like, I think sport and racing are complementary, they're not competitors to each other. That's my view as a wagering operator and seeing this space play out for a number of years. What we need to do is provide, so we're going to put on the show. So we put on the best wagering entertainment products that we can. Our returns to industry are up 50% pre-partnership. What we need to do is have racing come along the journey with us and deliver on the product. So, in the last 12 months, abandonments are up 10%. That's impacting wagering turnover.
Don't worry, we'll get back to that. It's a subject which is extremely, shall we say, prominent in New Zealand racing at the moment. But before we get to that, the legislative net takes a lot of work to get something like this at this level changed, at a government and parliamentary level. It has been changed now. Do you see a desired turnover spike, or is that more of a slower burn getting people who were betting with offshore operators to betting with the TAB?
We've seen positive trends. We haven't, it's a $180 million prize that was in the grey market operation, and we're doing really well in capturing that. But just last week, we found 200 illegal offshore operators still offering sports and racing product to New Zealanders, right? And we're working with. How
do you find them?
We've got a team that goes out there and finds them. It's important because we paid a lot of money for a monopoly, and we want to make sure that we get a monopoly.
Okay, so people will feel like a monopoly is, well, lucky them, they managed to get a monopoly. But of course, every dollar spent offshore is a dollar that doesn't have any sense of it coming back to New Zealand. So is it a case that this is strictly not only for your guys' good, but for the good of the racing and sports industries in New Zealand? Because I do think some people think it's a monopoly you have, when effectively it's actually a monopoly we all have.
I'm glad you said it like that because I think it is. I think it is a monopoly that we have.
Well, it could be wrong, but that's what it feels like to me.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm all in. It's a monopoly we have. But just to be clear, there was zero incentive of an offshore wagering operator cross-selling sport into racing. Zero incentive, and so it probably never got done. It's our full incentive to make sure that gets done, and that's why we're seeing 47% of customers that had never had a racing bet now betting on racing.
There's an enormous amount, Andrew, of data floating around. I can't keep up with it all, and obviously you have a team of hundreds of people who do keep up with it. But as simply as you can for the Guerin Report viewers, are Entain and the TAB on track to make enough money by the end of the minimum guarantee period? And we'll say it's 2.5 years away, it's close enough to that, to be able to retain the levels which we hope for, which is, again, roughly, we'll paraphrase this, around $200 million. Are you seeing forecast figures now which are suggesting to you at the end of that 5-year period we can maintain that circa $200 million level?
We're certainly trending that way, right? But a couple of things need to go for us. As I said, we need to deliver on our core promise, right, which is to go back to basics, make sure that we're in the business of selling bets, reinvest that back into innovation, and make sure we capture all of the grey market that was there. Second fold is we need racing industry to, I guess, make sure they deliver on what customers want. Customers want consistency of racing on our best tracks at the right times with the optimal field sizes. And those field sizes are between 10 and 14. And I think if we both do that, then we'll deliver on that outcome.
You answered half that, the next question, which is what are the key things we need to do to achieve that 200 million-ish figure by the end of 5 years being a consistent figure? I take it race betting cancellations are an absolute karma killer for this.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And there's two deltas here. I don't want to just talk about, the negatives. I think everyone knows, no one wants abandoned meetings. No one wants that at all. Certainly we don't. Neither does TAB New Zealand. But when I look at racing at its best, right, so Melbourne Cup Day, Ellerslie holds its meeting, $5.2 million worth of turnover on that meeting, 37% year-on-year increase. Why? Great track, field sizes at their best. When you build it, they come. This is just delivering on what the customer wants to see.
Okay. Well, when Entain first came to New Zealand, there was, I'll put this as simply as possible, a lot of money being splashed around. Mm-hmm. And I think people thought that was never going to dry up. But now, is it the case that you guys are concentrating more on your core business and you're having to say to the codes, well, you need to take care of your business? The reason I dovetail that question into the last answer is, great, if we could have 3 tracks like Ellerslie, that'd be cool, but I'm picking Entain doesn't want to pay for them, and to be perfectly honest, neither does anybody else.
Yeah, look, I think this is a team's effort, right? We need to understand roles and responsibilities. Our responsibility is the wagering operator selling bets. That's our responsibility, and we want to work with the codes to deliver on their outcomes, but I don't really want to get into the funding model of that in its detail.
With going back to the basics of selling bets, is that, should we say, narrowing your focus and maybe not getting involved in some lanes that the business may have got involved in the last 2.5 years?
Yeah, 100%. I want to make sure that we're concentrating on being the best wagering partner possible, and I'm fully expecting TAB New Zealand to be the best racing partner as possible.
As much as you can tell, in what's been roughly 6 months since you've taken over, do the codes listen to Entain enough? Is the dialogue between the two open enough?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone knows what needs to be done. It's now about execution. But yeah, the dialogue is free-flowing between both operator and codes. And yeah, it's working really, really well.
There's a lot of people, Andrew, who in the last 20 years, and I've waded through it with them, we've waded for some pretty dire times. It was pretty rough here for a while, and particularly with states and stuff. And then we've had earthquakes and a whole bunch of things that have gone badly wrong and sadly wrong on some occasions. Some people in New Zealand racing are suspicious. They're naturally suspicious of anything that seems to be too good. And for the first 2.5 years, this whole thing seemed to be too good. What do you say to people? And this is a question people ask me, so I'm going to ask you. What do you say to people who say, at the end of 5 years, they won't be able to make this work, they're going to give the keys back to the TAB and they're going to leave? I want to ask that question on behalf of other people.
Yeah, sure. So we're here for the long haul. We've got a 25-year partnership. The business is actually growing really, really well, and we can see a future path for bigger growth. So from my perspective, we deliver on what we're here to deliver on, which is go back to selling bets, innovate in technology for the benefit of the customer. We'll do what we need to do, and if racing does what it needs to do, then there is a really, really strong business here that will live well beyond the 25-year partnership.
So just there's no chance that in 2.5 years' time you just give the keys back and say, "Look, that we could make that work."
No, I can't see that.
I think it's probably not quite that simple.
Yeah, it's probably not. You're right.
You mentioned a realigning of priorities, one of the most public ones, because a lot of corporate stuff happens behind doors, doesn't really affect most people, was the closing of the racing club. Was that a case of we tried something, tried to make a splash, didn't quite work, so we don't want to continue putting money into that when we could spend it on other stuff?
Yeah, look, in essence, it's not core business. We're not in the race ownership business. We're in the selling of bets business. When we're looking to deploy capital, I want to make sure it's going into innovation and technology. That's where we'll get the best returns. And so that was the decision.
Okay. Is it one of those things which is it tricky to make a decision like that because it is a very public decision? Or do you have to say, look, we're going to get a whole bunch of things right in the first 5 years and we're going to get some things wrong and we need to be transparent about that?
We definitely need to be transparent, right? But there's phases in business. So we go through a launch phase and we're trying different things. And now, I've got the luxury of coming in here, 3 years into the partnership, and we just understand the business and the economics a lot better. And so we're going to make decisions based on that.
It's been well publicised that Entain has a court date with AUSTRAC in Australia, which goes back into financial laws basically, and whether there was enough oversight by your business. Now that is in the past, but it will still be heard in the future. How confident are you in the AML laws, anti-money laundering procedures that Entain employ at the moment?
Oh, look, we've gone through a transformational change in compliance. We've got a market-leading program now. We've increased our staff in AML tenfold. We've invested tens of millions of dollars in technology and governance and systems. And so from my perspective, I'm really confident about where we are, not only from that perspective, but also culturally. We are a compliance-first culture company where, we want to win, but we don't want to win at all costs.
Most people watching this probably only really care about New Zealand anyway, so let's extrapolate that question out to New Zealand. Say this doesn't go well and there's a decent sized fine and these things can be pretty big. Does that impact Entain's ability to run New Zealand racing as it would like, or inside a corporation of that size, are they different income streams and therefore the two things don't actually affect each other?
Yeah, I can't see the impact, whatever happens in Australia with AUSTRAC, it impacting the New Zealand business at all. New Zealand is totally looked at separately and we're growing from strength to strength. And, we're employing our market-leading AML program in New Zealand, and we've got a great relationship with the DIA as well.
Okay, that's encouraging. So what are the next stages of the business development in New Zealand? What would you like to either grow or start next here?
Yeah, look, we're continuing to innovate, right? So if you look at trackside this coming week, we're unveiling brand new horse tracking graphics, so there's a lot of innovation in the trackside space. New Zealand will get a brand new app next year, which will be a native app with a whole heap of new functionality, and hopefully we're starting to merge together digital and retail. And then, what's a great time of year is next year's a World Cup year, right? Like it's a massive, massive year for sport. And New Zealand are in the World Cup, and it's played in America, which is in a fantastic time zone for New Zealand. So we're expecting, a huge growth year next year.
You do hear when you talk about sport and growth that some people are getting involved in gambling who maybe shouldn't, and some people get involved in all sorts of things and other people get upset about it. What tools do you have to allay those fears that people aren't spending all their rent money and there's not enormous problem gambling coming in? Because I wouldn't see the betcha customers as those people, but there's going to be some scaremongering about that. So what tools do you have to ensure that people aren't doing those things?
Yeah, so we've got a team of safer gambling specialists that are proactively looking at customer data and seeing changes in betting behaviour, and they make outward calls or interact with customers directly. There's a whole suite of tools available for customers to self-serve on our apps. We do TV ads on safer gambling as well, which you would have seen early on this year, and we'll continue to roll it out during carnival time where traffic is high. So I think we're doing a lot. And by the way, we listen to customer sentiment. So when the community says, hey, we're seeing too many ads here, we pull back. So we listen to the community, and we're very, very focused in engaging in that space. I think what's really, really key to understand is if you look at the grey market and the online gaming market, zero of that stuff exists, and it's a really, really big business.
What's been really interesting has been the doubling down on trackside and other media, but predominantly trackside. There's more shows. There's shows like this, and there's more backing for having presenters on track, which I personally think is incredibly important. Where did that sentiment come from? Because not all bookmakers share that sentiment, that content helps turnover and helps awareness. So that seems very ingrained at Entain.
Yeah, look, and it was there at Sky before when I ran Sky. You know, it's building shows for customers that drive the desired betting behaviour has been there for a long time.
Is there any proof it works? Like, do you believe it works?
Yeah, 100%. Like Friday Night Lights has driven harness racing turnover by 15%. You know, that's important that media is converging with the wagering product.
Okay, we give guests on the show a magic wand if we think they would like it, and I'm sure you can do with one.
Yeah.
If I gave you a magic wand and you could wave it around and change any one or two things, what would be the key priorities, Andrew, in New Zealand racing or our gambling space or anything which you, as part of your business, what would be the things you would like to see changed or improved?
Yeah. Okay, well, it's not Andrew's magic wand, it's the customer's magic wand, and they want Entain to deliver a world-class wagering experience for New Zealanders, and they want racing to be on our best tracks at the right times with the best fields that we can possibly put together. That's what the magic wand would do.
We thank Andrew for his time, and we hope you found that informative. Well, little Mickey G is getting ready to go to the Karaka sale, so I went to Cambridge Stud to see him. Here's me and Mickey G. He's the good-looking one. All right, Cambridge Stud on a Friday morning, off to see little Mickey G, the horse named after me. Sorry about that, Mickey G. I don't usually wear a sort of state hat around Auckland, but I got one today, so I'm part of the team. Pretty excited to see him. Haven't seen him since winter. So let's go meet Alice, who looks after Mickey G, and lots of other little horsey dudes who are off to Karaka. So we've got the catalogue this week, which is kind of cool. He got his number, which I'm looking forward to. He'll be sold on the second day at Karaka, so we sell Sunday and Monday, so he's off to Monday. So here's our little boy. Ooh, hello little fella. Hey ladies, how you going?
Hi, good,
I'm Michael.
How are you? I'm Alice.
Hey, how are you? Hey, I'm Michael.
I'm Fiona. Nice.
I know who you are. Hey, nice to see you. Hey, you going, little buddy? Wow, haven't seen you since winter. Wow, he's got heaps bigger, eh? I suppose you would hope he would.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, and it was really cool to have him on social media last week, he looks like a really sweet boy.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You can do anything with him.
Really?
He's probably been the best horse you could have picked to do this.
Oh, cool. Well, hello, welcome back to the show. Good to see you again. You wouldn't believe the people who stopped me at Ready to Run. So what are you going to do? Are you going to buy Mickey G? I'm like, I don't think we can afford to buy him. Hey, can you show me what he's learnt since we last saw him? Because last time we saw him on the show, he was sort of weanling-ish, right? So you've been teaching him to parade and all that sort of thing?
So he's had parade, he's had a roller on, he's done everything to do with grooming, had a shampoo, a bath. Yeah. So he knows basically everything he'll need to do.
Okay, we're going to go outside for some more grooming.
Boy, come on, let's go for a walk.
So what are you trying to teach him to do when he comes out of the box? at Karaka?
Every time we pull them out of box here, we always put them in their sales stance. So they learn to stop. Every time they stop in their sales stance.
And that's so buyers can come and look at them and see if they're correct and see what the shape of the horse is,
and then I always tell the staff that every time they're walking them with purpose, walking them out. So then every time they go out of the box at the sales, they're walking with purpose. So they hopefully don't have a bad walk up there. There's always going to be.
So when you say walking with purpose, like that's like a striding out through their shoulder and putting their shoulder into it, is it?
Like it's kind of like someone walking with purpose.
So that's how professionals do it. So when people are looking for that at the sales, they're looking for different things, like whether the horse has an overstep, so obviously where their foot lands, the other foot goes over top of that, so they think that's going to be part of a longer stride. Not all horses have it. How they move. Some horses are fluid, some horses aren't fluid. You don't want horses who put their head up in their hair too much as I know a little bit about these things. That's what I've been told. So you don't want them walking with their head up in the air, you want them nice and relaxed, but looking like they've got power through the shoulder. Obviously his butt's growing, he's got a bigger ass, which is great. They call it behind the saddle, so obviously that's where the power comes from. So it's all looking good, but now it's my turn, so we'll see how we go. Hood up, little boy. Hood up. Okay, so here, I hold on to here, soft, nice and soft.
Nice and soft.
And then he'll follow me. Come on, you ready? This could go really bad. Let's try and make this look good for everybody.
And if you stand back on his shoulder.
Yeah, stand back on his shoulder.
Yep.
So when I walk, he should walk at my speed?
Yes.
Come on, off we go. Come on.
Come on, buddy.
Nice and soft hands. You're on television, behave yourself. I know.
You're a natural.
Me? Are you talking to me or the horse?
Both.
Come on. Okay. Yeah. So, this is pretty easy, isn't it? Cool. I'm wearing a sort of state hat. Can you believe this? I'm like a billboard. So you're going to be on the show with the boss of Entain on Monday, which is pretty big. And then we're going to show you at Karaka. But your brother, I saw him in Melbourne. Yeah, he said to say hi. His name's Charles Wolf. I don't know to spell it, but yeah, he's pretty cool. Look over this way, look over this way. So you're supposed to walk straight forward, right? Yep. Yeah, cool. This is fun. Okay, so we're going to check him out, and this is totally unbiased. I look at a few yearlings, but I don't know as much as a lot of people watching this, but I know some of the things that are supposed to work, so we'll talk to Alice. Alice, first of all, I'm looking at him from the back forward. Nice big round bum. We're 2 months out from the sale, so he's going to grow heaps, but there's lots to work with behind the saddle, as they say. So that looks all good. That's a good part.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good base.
Yeah. Legs look really correct. So what you look for in the legs, you want them to be straight, not having all those little weird kinks like a piano legs, and nice deep girth here. Look, he's growing heaps. Ooh, buddy, he's growing heaps since I saw him in winter. Like his girth's really deepened up.
He really thrived the last month before prep.
Is that because the weather's better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, spring growth as well in the grass.
Yeah. And he's got a strong masculine head, which the sort of states seem to have. Like he's got a man's head, quite a nice strong deep jowl there. So, is that so when you look at him, are you thinking 2 months out you're happy?
Yes, I'm happy.
Yeah.
With his progress.
Do you reckon, like between now, so we're end of November-ish, what would he put on? Would he put on another 20 kilos, as much as you can work it out?
You would hope for another probably 40, 50, like.
Oh wow.
We're aiming for less than a kg a day, but
yeah.
more than like half a kg a day.
Okay, and does he get hard fed at this stage?
Yes. So he's on twice a day hard feed.
Yeah, okay. And then I suppose at some stage they do like endoscopic examination and his x-rays, and then they go into the repository at Karaka, so everybody
that'll
can
all be done pre-Christmas.
Okay, so as unbiased between you and me, do you reckon he's going to like have lots of inspections on?
I would hope so.
You would hope
if
so?
he doesn't, then we're going to struggle.
Is it a cool time of year? Is it cool to be you this time of year, or is it just too busy?
Oh, it's busy, but it's good.
Yeah.
I love seeing them from weanling, handling all the way into prep.
Good little boy. We'll see you at Karaka. It's all right. Sorry about the name. Okay. So thanks for letting me. Well, be honest. Like he's cool. Was my walking okay?
Yeah.
Was okay.
If you have some downtime at the sales,
I can get a job.
Yeah.
How many steps do you walk at the sales? Like 25,000 a day or something?
30,000.
Ah, okay. No, I don't want to do that. Our thanks to the staff at Cambridge Stud and our little horse 2 months out from the yearling sales. The catalogue's available at nzb.co.nz. That's the Guerin Report on a Monday night. We'll be back next Monday at 8 p.m.